3 of these lovely melons for £1.
In the boardroom, the results were announced.
Invicta, the boys' team, £781.
The ladies?
£1,143.
But Sir Alan wasn't happy with the girls blagging freebies.
What I couldn't understand is how you can only spend £40 and come in with this amount of money.
The majority of our produce was given to us for nothing.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. It's reasonable for me to put the same value as what they spent, which is around about £300, which what that means is you've still won.
As the girls celebrated, the boys faced the boss again.
My instincts are that 7 people was an overkill. Clearly, the girls broke up into teams. I want to know why you didn't do it.
We didn't do it because we felt that
We? You keep saying we. Are you the team leader or what?
Ben took Sam and Saeed back in with him.
Saeed is interpreting what happened.
Now, what I find very shocking is that...
Please finish, Saeed.
This is a sign of a bad leader. I have not lost my cool.
And I've got to make a decision. It's a difficult decision, and I'm going to have to make my mind up, and I'm going to say this. Ben, you're fired. I think you did a bad job as a project manager.
Please welcome the first in the firing line. Don't worry, his lip has now stopped quivering. Benedict Stanbury, everybody. Does that compensate for the horror of what happened to you in the boardroom?
Definitely, definitely. And I mean, just watching the playback there, you cannot describe how tough it is to be in the boardroom. I mean, Sarah and Tim have been through this themselves. You can have a lot of fun during the task itself, but when you get in that boardroom, everything changes. And just watching the show makes you realise that no matter how funny, you know, things are and what a good time you have, you go in the boardroom and it's deadly serious. And Sir Alan is like a surgeon, dissecting everything you've done with incredible detail, and he really can cut straight to the issues.
There was just something about your lips. No, I could just...
Quivering.
I know your mum and dad are here. I could just see you as a little boy getting a rollicking when you were 4 for making a mess or something.
Yeah.
Were you reverting to your childhood?
Definitely. It is like... because, I mean, don't forget that, you know, the 14 of us, from day one, we're there and we're sort of subjugating ourselves completely to one person. There's just one person's approval that we're seeking. And that's a very strange situation to be in, and actually one that you probably haven't been in since you were a kid, and you just wanted to please your mum and dad.
It's not on national television then, either.
No.
So, Polly, did it float your boat then? Did you enjoy it?
I loved the show. I thought it was great. I think I really like the girls' team, I have to say. I'm gunning for them. I think they're much better than last year's. I think they could... Cut that out.
What about the chemistry of the characters there? Has it got as much promise as last year?
Oh, God, all the characters are definitely there, aren't they? I mean, you know, there was already you guys were sort of fighting. I mean, I have to say, I thought you were very patient with Saeed. I don't know how you held it together with him for so long. He is it's just gonna explode. I imagine probably in episode 2.
Syra, he just lacked you, really, didn't he?
I think there's quite a few Syra Khans on that programme, actually. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It was gripping, and it just brought back so many memories. And, you know, seeing you in the boardroom, Ben, I really felt for you. The only thing that I would say, you didn't quite understand what that dog-eat-dog world is about.
I think he understands now.
I think he does. But I felt for you, and I thought you did really well. Well done.
What I found tokening right at the beginning, all that ghastly getting to know each other business, where you're like sniffing around lampposts. It's sort of disgusting. See who's going to end up sort of defecating on who. I thought it was. Is it that bad? You could sense the tension there.
I don't know. I think it is that way. You've got to get to know each other. You've got to suss people out really quickly, because, you know, as soon as you're in that house, that phone rings that day, and you've just got to then work as a team. Yeah. So your gut instinct has got to be very, very sharp and very precise.
Bring back memories for you, Tim.
Indeed. that tension in the boardroom, you just can't explain it. He's there in front of you and you have to be accountable.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'd have dealt with Saeed either, Ben, for what it's worth. You held your own, you remained polite and everything. Yeah. But that scenario of trying to be friends with everybody, in the back of your mind, you do actually want to win, is a very difficult situation to be in.
Okay, well, one of the reasons Ben's sitting here now is that the girls paid much less for their goods than the boys did. And they did that by deploying one of the oldest tricks in the book.
You're sexy women, good-looking girls, why not use it?
My hump, my lovely little lumps. Check it out.
We did have a discussion about using our femininity and our sexuality to sell, but if you look sexy and it's an asset, good, use it.
You should give us those oranges. These are very ripe and juicy.
2 melons for £1. That's a bargain. We didn't do anything to demean ourselves. We didn't do anything that wasn't professional.
The fact that they sort of glanced at more than just the fruit that we were selling, they're men.
Kiss, kiss on the cheek, come. Check it out.
God, now.
Polly, as a sales tactic, did that meet with your approval? You don't learn that at the Harvard Business School, do you?
I think it totally was appropriate. They were in Spitalfields Market. They were selling on market stalls. They weren't in a boardroom. They weren't talking to the head of Dixon's. If they were talking to the head of Dixon's, they wouldn't have behaved like that. But it went down well. They got free produce, which was still, you know, they had to sell it in a day. It wasn't that it was going to last a week or anything. And I just thought they did brilliantly and shouldn't be ashamed of themselves. A couple of the kisses, I felt a little bit uncomfortable.
Do you know when I lost it is when that mechanic stuck out his extraordinarily long tongue.
And he didn't even buy anything, did he? I mean...
Yeah, he offered to give them an oil change. It was.
I think that's a euphemism for something. You can see the absurdity in it if you just flip it round and say, what if the blokes had done the same thing? What if you'd stripped to some old swimming trunks you were wearing when you were 14 and covered yourself in baby oil?
But, you know, I think Saeed wouldn't have minded at all.
Right.
Yeah, I think he was looking for any opportunity to get his kick off.
You'll get a chance to have a pop at Saeed very shortly, actually. But yeah, we won't forget you on that. Good. But Sir Alan said at the beginning, you won't get anywhere flashing your hair back. He said that won't get you anywhere. Well, it did get them somewhere, didn't it?
Well,
I don't know whether you call that flashing your hair back.
I think what I liked about the girls was they went in and they negotiated free produce. The bit that I didn't like was the low tops, the boobies hanging out. It was really obvious, and it was just like, understand who your boss is going to be. It's going to be Sir Alan Sugar. This is no nonsense. No boobs are going to work any wonders on him, and they really won't. And it's like, and the thing is also, this is a business show. It's a business message. This has got to be sustainable. You can't go around every single task wearing short skirts and you know, trying to kiss every bloke that's going to give you a freebie. So I think Sir Alan was absolutely right to pull them up on it.
But they still won.
But they still won, and they won because they got free produce and they made a profit on it.
And we'll see if Sharon particularly goes on to wear anything as low cut in the remaining in the remaining episodes. What was your feeling on it?
You know what? I don't blame them. I mean, they didn't go into Spitalfields saying, we are definitely going to try and get the stock for nothing. They kind of stumbled into that situation. And if that had been me, and Paul or Saeed had come and said, guess what, I think we can get all our stuff for nothing, I just said,
But what about all the massaging and hugging and all that?
Yeah.
No, well, we wouldn't have done all that, but it did the trick, and at the end of the day, they were on there, you know, to do the best business they could.
But the one store thing was a mistake. You don't need 7 blokes to run a store. But if you did it again, would you split up? Would you send somebody out on the street and somebody stay on the market store? Surely you would.
No, I wouldn't. I would actually stand by that decision. And a lot of people might say, no, it was the wrong decision, you should have split people up. But what you've got to remember is that if we'd have gone out on the street with the fruit, would we have been able to have the appeal with which the girls actually succeeded in selling?
Well, no, is the short answer, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well,
By staying in the...
Well, I think you're wrong, because if you look at what Paul did later on his own, he used a very clever technique, and he was very successful. He got £2.50 for an apple. I mean, you know, you could have done it, and I think that's a lesson kind of to be learnt out of it, is that absolutely, if you'd used a little bit more of a kind of a creative idea, it wasn't really about just because the girls were, you know, dressed in a provocative way. It was about creative business idea.
I think what I would definitely agree is that Splitting the teams into two, if we'd done that, would have been a higher risk strategy, but the returns on that risk could have been greater. Okay. I was actually playing it safe. We had all these people coming to the market store. We had a hell of a lot of trade going on, so I just wanted to keep us where people were coming to us.
Ben, if you can bear it now, have a look at what the boardroom survivors, Saeed and Sam, made of your performance, and what Sir Alan made of it too.
I was expecting Ben to take me into the boardroom because, you know, I throughout the whole task, I supported him 150%. But I didn't agree with his tactics.
What you said to them was, I'm going to guarantee you business. Now, we can't go around making guarantees.
No, but whether or not we give it to him is a completely different story.
No.
I'm showing him commitment. I think Ben performed crap. I think Ben was speechless.
I'm very flattered that you'd like me to be the first project manager. But it should just be random. That's the fairest way.
The straw that broke the camel's back, I suppose, is that when I said to him, well, you know, do you think you did a great job as a team manager? He said, oh, yes, I was great. I put myself forward. But he didn't put himself forward because, you know, he got pushed into doing it. There's no other way of describing it. And effectively, they drew straws.
Ben. Ben had a kind of autocratic style or manner about him that I didn't really like. Can I just explain something?
To avoid real responsibilities, you tried to hide from any responsibility, any risk that you might have to be team leader.
Ben took me in there for a personal reason, and Sir Alan just ripped him apart.
As the team leader, do you accept that you made a fundamental error in sitting there and not splitting up into two teams?
If I had the benefit of a lifetime's experience of that kind of trading and the benefit of hindsight, then I might be able to say yes.
Ben, you're dodging the question here.
We set a fundamental strategy that was not based only on splitting into two,
I'm shocked.
Sir Alan.
I'm actually shocked that I'm sitting there. Ben's not cut out for this. You know, Ben is a university lecturer. Ben is a investment banker, maybe. I don't know. But Ben is definitely not an apprentice.
At the end of the day, I didn't think that this guy could ever work for me. I couldn't see that there was a slot in my organisation. He was a fish out of water. Quite honestly, I couldn't see anybody else to blame.
I'm finding Saeed a bit difficult to love at this stage. I'm hoping he's going to grow on me.
I think that he's got a lot of good qualities and that maybe a lot of what you see there kind of, you know, clouds those over. He doubtless has a lot of the great qualities of an entrepreneur. And you saw that when we went into Spitalfields Market. He went straight up to people and started negotiation, and he got great prices. So in situations like that, he was a great asset, and I've no doubt that as the weeks go forward, he's going to do some great things. The problem is that he doesn't quite have that sort of emotional intelligence, that ability to actually see how people are reacting to him and adjust his own kind of language, his body language, his behaviour accordingly. So, yeah, he is difficult to love, but if he just calms down a bit, I think he could be the apprentice. I really do.
Polly, what do you make of him? There's good column inches in Saeed, isn't there?
Oh, yes, definitely. I guess he's the new Paul, isn't he, really? He's just too full of himself. He needs to be sort of kicked down and needs a bit of humble pie, doesn't he, really? And to listen to people, I just felt he just wasn't listening to anyone at all. And also, he loves himself all these like little cut-off tops with the pumped-up arms.
There's nothing wrong with that. You said to the girls earlier, that's all fine.
It's double standards.
It is double standards.
It is double standards.
What you didn't see on that show was the very first morning, first task, he walks into one of the bloke's bedrooms and he's sort of saying, does this look a bit gay? I think we told him yes, but he still wore it.
Yeah.
See, Polly, you were wrong about something. He's not the new Paul, he's the new Syra.
We're not going to learn any business tips from him or how to be an entrepreneur. Let's be very clear about that. We are going to learn how not to do business from Saeed, but he's going to entertain us for good few weeks to come, I think.
Something you'll always have on Saeed is that he did, in fact, come up with the daftest suggestion of the whole series. Let's have a look now. I love this bit.
Has anyone got a name at the moment?
I have.
Let's go for it.
The A-Team.
The A-Team.
The reason why I mention the A-Team is because whatever task they take, they are winners.
Any others? Don't have to have one each.
I did have another suggestion, winners. The reason being is because that's the intention, isn't it? To be honest, just looking at all the, you know, what we put down, success, vision, creativity, maverick, all of that rolls into the A-Team. If you look at the A-Team, they have all these qualities within that team. and they always come up with the results. So maybe something you want to think of that.
Maybe something you want to think about. You're going, no, it's not. Thing is, you know about Saeed. Even if he was here now, he'd still stand by it, wouldn't he? He wouldn't change his mind.
He's tenacious. He's got that drive, but unless he's got a mirror that he can look at himself, I don't think he'd get very far in what he's doing. He's just... I don't think he's got that right energy to be a team player. And to be a good manager, you have to be a team player as well as being standing up from the front.
Have you been on telly before you did this, by the way?
Well, you probably know my secret.
Go on.
When I was a student, my big hobby was dancing, ballroom dancing.
You'll never guess what... As a project manager, who knows, but as a dancer, he's got it all. Just look at the smile on his face here. Have a look at this. That was your secret weapon, that fixed kind of Richter smile at the end. You should have put that on in the board.
Yeah, where was that when I needed it? Yeah, I think, and I could have done with the fake tan as well, because after sort of 3 days of no sleep, I think we were looking pretty tired and drawn.
So when Sir Alan Sugar said you were a fish out of water, I said you were on that show, he'd think, like, Sir Alan Sugar might be on Come Dancing, for example. Would you accept that?
Yeah, I think that's completely fair enough. I mean, I was frankly really astonished and very flattered to be actually get the phone call and said, look, we want you. You know, we want you on The Apprentice, because I actually thought I had a 1,000,000 to 1 shot. I am not the kind of guy that Sir Alan is going to look at and say, oh, he's my kind of guy. So it was always going to be a tough one to...
So, sorry, Ben, so why did you apply then? You came on, you followed through with it if you didn't think you were going to be the guy to win.
Because one of the things that I've sort of discovered over the last couple of years, having been very ill at one point, is that when opportunities come along, it actually doesn't matter if you don't know whether you could actually go all the way. You've got to still go for them nonetheless. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, I'm not supposed to be around right now. I'm not supposed to be, sitting here. So, you just have to go for all these things. And the opportunity to be on there and learn, and it's far more practical than any kind of business school could ever be. So I think just to get on there and be involved is great fun. And you never know, if I'd have gone a bit further, maybe there would have been other things that would have happened that Sir Alan would have seen and thought,
if you hadn't been project manager, you might still be there. We've got some members of your family here. We'll speak to your sister first, Nicola. So what's it like to see a member of your family being torched like that by Sir Alan Sugar and his so-called friends and colleagues there?
I think he handled it supremely well. I have to say, I wouldn't put myself up for that. To be criticised and take it with positive feedback is really admirable. So, really impressive performance, so well done.
And do you take my point? Did he look like that as a little boy when you or your mum or dad were shouting?
I think it's hereditary, the bottom lip quivering, actually.
Is it? Well, your girlfriend as well, Wendy Campman. How did you feel watching that?
I think that he did really, really well, and I disagree with what Ben said. I think that he was actually the kind of person that should be on The Apprentice. I think he has all the qualities to become The Apprentice, and I think it's just very bad luck that he got out in the first episode because of his so-called lack of management skills. I disagree with that.
You're kind of family, so we'd expect you to be nice about him. It really would be a bad day, wouldn't it, if they set him up? Well, listen, the man is quite clearly emotionally made of girders, so he can take it now. Who would you have got rid of?
I would have actually gone for Sam, because he just did nothing. All his contribution was putting a few, apples on the stall. He kind of said, oh, I'm not a salesman, so I'm not even going to try. I mean, how hard is it to do that? I mean, how hard is it to say, do you want to buy 4 oranges for £1? I just think he really didn't put himself forward.
So you don't buy this I was merchandising argument, then?
Oh, rubbish. He was doing nothing. What was he doing?
Sarah?
I would have to agree with Sir Alan's judgment on that, only because as project manager, I think you have to demonstrate really strong leadership skills. I would have really liked to seen you put your fist on the table and said, you're going to shut up, Saeed, and I'm going to talk. And I think that's the kind of world that Sir Alan Sugar operates in. It's strong, it's cutthroat, and I think to work outside of your comfort zone a little bit would have done you a lot of favours.
Tim?
I'd have to agree with several things that Sarah said. I think in terms of delegation throughout the task, you had the wrong people in the wrong areas at some point. You could have stood up to Saeed. Maybe it was very hard to do, but in that situation when your potential boss is going to see how you react in a confrontational situation, you weren't able to deal with somebody like Saeed, and he can be confrontational, so you've got to be able to stand up.
But would you agree that, but for the grace of God, you could have gone there? Because you were quiet at first, you'd been thrust into 100%. A project management role, you could have come unstuck very early on.
Totally, 100%. And it's one of those situations, maybe with more time you grow, that confidence comes, and you were unfortunate that your name was picked out of the hat and it was you. Maybe later on it wouldn't have been you, but
to jump to Ben's defence, though, I mean, I just think no one really helped you. There was no other good ideas coming out of the group. It was just like a WI meeting, arguing like old ladies, you know.
Like the women in the first 2 tasks and the last series, in fact, did exactly the same, strategise for everything.
But as project manager, you are in charge of a strategy. That's really important. That's where you have to demonstrate your leadership skills. It's not up to your team. That's where you've got to lead from the front.
Okay. We're going to ask the audience now. Was he right to be fired? Hold up the red one. Was wrong to be fired? Hold up the green one. Up you go. Let's have a look at you.
Ooh,
I think
50-50.
Mummy's side.
Yeah.
Mummy's side.
Your family are heavily on the right there, aren't they? But okay, I think you're higher there. That's fantastic.
Yeah. But I mean, I have to say, just sort of coming back to the comments here, I think they're all very fair. And to be honest with you, I think the big problem here is you're taking, for someone like me, and maybe in the future for some of the other candidates too, who've done sort of consulting roles where it's a much softer kind of skill you've got. You are really in another world. You're in Sir Alan's world, and Sir Alan's world is a lot harder. You're expected to be a lot more aggressive, a lot more go-getting. So I think, yeah, I mean, definitely you'll be a fish out of water. And I have to say that I think if I'd been Sir Alan, I'd probably have fired me too, because I wouldn't have fitted into that world.
Well, it was about 50-50 in the audience, I think, so well done. Sir Alan Sugar comes up with some great one-liners. He learnt them in the School of Hard Knocks, you know, he doesn't have a scriptwriter. Here's some of the not-so-sweet sugarisms coming up over the next few weeks.
Do me a favour, folks. Watch my mouth. I am the most belligerent person that you could ever come across. This is not a holiday camp here or some college of further education where, you know, dumb cops come to learn where to make mistakes. I do not need strategists, you know. I don't need lecturing I need doers. I just don't know if you're just a bloody nutter. Our time can change. You seem to have gone from anchor to wanker. Business is not about come in, piss my money up the wall. I'm the one dishing out the job here. So don't you start pontificating about other tasks here. You're responsible for this task. What a shower. What a bloody shower. Quite frankly, I'd like to get rid of the bleeding 3 of you. I'm really angry with the situation. Clear off.
So in your year with him, has he ever called you a Dummkopf?
I've never been called that, no, or a banker, or as he mentioned. But he is as he is. He's a tough boss, but you get from him, when you've done something right, you get that praise. When you've done something wrong, you know immediately, so there's no middle ground with him. He's not going to pat you on the back and say, you'll be all right later on.
So are you rewarded working there?
100%, 100%. He has this tough exterior that most of the public are aware of.
But there's a nice man trying to get out, isn't there?
No, there's a very funny, witty, down-to-earth individual at the same time. But when it comes to business, he doesn't mess about.
Yeah. Have a look at this. Sir Alan at the launch of Tim's new face care product.
I'm from the Tossers Gazette, the biggest cynic that has ever been allowed to walk on the planet. What do you bloody know about skincare? You worked in the underground. I'm from, you know, Ugly Women Weekly. I've not seen this product before. It wasn't very successful the last time, was it? What else? What other lovely glowing questions would we expect?
You know, if you can only buy it on the website, but my old auntie hasn't got a website, and she might want one.
Yeah, well, she may be too far gone.
So is it like that all the time?
As you said, he's fun. He can be really, really funny, but what he gave, particularly in that shot, was a realistic view of what some journalists are potentially going to ask. They asked some very difficult questions.
And did any journalists ask a question as tough as the ones he can?
They did. There were some ones about what do you know about skincare, all the ones he prepared you for, basically. So the media training by Sir Alan Sugar paid off.
Well, Ben, your time may have been brief, on that show, fired in week
Record
one.
time.
Yeah. Now, you may well want to bin your tape of the show, but here's a bit you can show your grandchildren. It's the highlights of your apprenticeship. We found 43 seconds worth of material. It's all yours.
You know what, Ben? With these black vans, the A-Team springs to mind.
Every one of us 7 men want to be Sir Alan's apprentice. I'm very flattered that you'd like me to be the first project manager. Thanks for your time, but we've got to get moving. We've got to see other people. Half a bag for £1 is absolutely fine. Nobody is safe. Sir Alan knows his own mind. He knows what he's looking for. Nobody is safe.
What I find very shocking is that...
Please finish, Saeed. I've spent the last 2 days being really very patient with you. I'm only asking to be allowed to complete the sentence.
You've taken it like a man. We salute you. Ben Stanbury, everyone. What a guy. So 1 humiliation down, 13 to go. Next week, a task for charity. But, as ever, the milk of human kindness is hardly flowing. Good night.
If you're going to say something useful.
Why the fuck are you being so aggressive?
Talk to me.
No, you're project manager.
Yeah,
you need to be in there, mate, and close it off.
I don't really fundamentally believe in the stylish cats and dogs. I think it's bollocks.
You are going with it.
The Apprentice continues next Wednesday at 9 here on BBC Two. And first series finalist Saira Khan reveals how to get your dream job on BBC Three this coming Friday night at 8.